We are part of Fired Up Sports Network of shows. Please check out other Fired Up Sports Network podcasts like the P-Lot Pod, Water Cooler Talk, Bell Smashers, Philly Sports Love and Pain, Drunk on Broad, Beer Battered Sports, and the Fired Up Sports Show, which are available on all major podcasting hosting sites and social media. Also, check out Mark Ramos' Roundup on firedupsports.com, which breaks down the happenings going on with all your favorite local teams.
Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions.
E-A-G-L-E-S Eagles!
Swing of the miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Flyers are going to win the Stanley Cup. The Flyers win the Stanley Cup for the lead. Yes!
Iverson, wow, what a fake off Daniels as he broke his ankles and got all the way to the cup.
Welcome in. It's episode 149, but today it's all about the Fightins. Eric, welcome in. We got a lot to talk about, but it was a great series against the Braves. Looking forward to this series coming up tonight against the Diamondbacks. But talk to me, because I've been on the edge of my seat all day long and itching for that 8:07 start.
Yeah, these 8:07 games, I get prime time and all that stuff, but yeah, it makes the day so much longer. The fact that we still have 3.5 hours or so. I mean, we'll be talking for a little bit, so that'll kill some of the time and feed some of the Phillies energy I got going on right now. But yeah, I can't wait. I mean, that Braves series was just so awesome. Number one is beating the Braves is always so fun, and just seeing how cocky some of those fans were coming into it. Yeah, well, we won 104 games. There was nothing better than just watching our pitching staff just completely stifle that offense, and just watching them just absolutely lose their minds. I think the Phillies broke them for a little bit. I mean, you look at Strider pitched well in the series in his 2 games. But we got to who we needed to get to. The offense did their job and hung in. The pitching kept us in games, and the pitching looked incredible. I mean, Nola has been, old time Nola, right? He's way better than he was this season. Wheeler has been you might have seen some of the stuff on Twitter, but I mean, he's up there with some incredible all-time pitching lists right now for postseason appearances. And is there a cooler guy in baseball than Ranger Suarez? I don't know.
I mean, listen, he shows up to pitch, and he's got 3 buttons buttoned, right? He's got the chain hanging out, and I love the way he feels his position, because it is legit no one's watching. He's in the middle of the backyard, and the cool, the calm, the collected. I get why they now say that's the guy we go to when the lights get bright, because for whatever reason, whatever troubles he has during the regular season, man, he shows up in the big moments, right? And look no further than last year, right? When they pick him to be the guy to close out the series with the Padres to go to the World Series, and he came in and closed that game like he had done it a million times.
Yeah, he gained so much respect for me last year, not just in the postseason, but the regular season too. He just showed how good he can be. And he doesn't have to be perfect, right? He's our number 3 pitcher. He doesn't have to be perfect. If he had, a high 3 ERA, it is what it is. But yeah, what he does in the postseason, whether he just comes in any role he wants, any role they need him. Now this year, I think just in terms of what we have in terms of starting pitching, I think he has to be a starter. I mean, the only reason I could see him coming in relief is if there was, some unforeseen circumstance. But what he did to close out Game 5 of the NLCS last year, his performances this year, and he even did it in the clinching game against the Braves, where the way he fields his position, he fields a ground ball, and you're like, all right, you're gonna throw it over, and he takes a sweet old time, but he gets it over there, and you're right. A lot of what he does. Do you remember that game? I want to say was it 09 or 2010 when there was that foul ball or not foul ball, just pop up to Cliff Lee on the mound, and it's like, why is no one moving? And Cliff Lee just like sticks his glove out, like not even really looking at it. It was kind of like, oh, I'm here. And that's kind of what Ranger reminds me of every single time. Just so like cool, calm, and collected. And it's just awesome seeing him there. Also, I love seeing him in the clubhouse celebrations because he's having so much fun, and he's looks like
hysterical.
Yeah, he's hilarious. I love it. I love watching Ranger Suarez do pretty much anything. So I can't wait. I'm assuming he's going to end up going game 3. So yeah, I feel so good with our pitching matchups going into seeing what they did to the Braves offense. I feel confident that this pitching staff can stifle any offense. The Diamondbacks have a good offense too. Don't get me wrong, but I feel good about our pitching staff.
Yeah, I mean, listen, how can you not? Right? You have the historically incredible performance by the Braves during the regular season, but I can't remember. I think it was Paul Hembekides or it was Buster Olney where they were talking about like this team is built for a regular season. They're built to just crush the ball all the time. But you saw in this game, right? They went from a team that set records for runs scored, for home runs, and a bunch of other categories to a team that in this 4-game stretch, they only put up 8 runs total. And one of those games, game 1, they get shut out. If they can do and just repeat that performance, right? The only thing that scares me about the Diamondbacks is that they don't know any better, right? They only know that they've basically manhandled the Brewers and the Dodgers with almost no sweat. The thing that I was talking about with my friend today was like this team has also not played outside in a really long time, right? They've either played on the West Coast or they've played in domes for the last, 2-3 weeks. And now they're going to have to come here, play outside. And it's not bright and sunny, right? The weather it's going to be in the 50s, probably kind of dip into those maybe the high 40s at night. It's going to be cold. I love what that does to a team that might be traveling west, hasn't played outside in a little while. But I just love where this team is. I love the way they're playing. They're kind of hitting on all cylinders. You can't tell me that there's any team that doesn't want to run into the Phillies at some point. Well, let's talk about this Brave series, right? Because last time we talked, we were kind of leading into that Brave series, and we talked about like the pitching being the key. And Zach Wheeler in game 1, talk to me because that was really impressive.
He's made two postseason appearances so far this year, and both times it might be like the best I've ever seen him look. Just like in terms of movement, he's cruising with velocity. He just looks so good. And that's exactly what we need from him. And just think like when we signed him, I mean, I was happy we signed him. He was, because there was other guys on the market, but they were all going to be pretty expensive. I'm like, cool, give me Zach Wheeler. He's going to be good in this place. And looking back at that contract, what a steal. I mean, he has been nothing but awesome for the Phillies. Two incredible postseasons. I think I saw like this postseason he's pitched 13 innings, giving up like 2 or 3 earned runs. Both he and Nola have a whip under 1. I mean, he's a solidified ace at this point. And he's stepping up in big games too. It's not like he's just doing it in the regular season. He's stepping up at big times and showing what kind of pitcher he is. And I really think like when he was with the Mets, he was a good pitcher, but I felt like he was injured a lot. I feel like I was always like, he's decent. He's not, but so I don't know if it was the change of scenery, if it's the Phillies development and pitching coaches and everything, but they found something, and he has been a workhorse, and he has been incredible since he's been here.
Right. And I just to correct, I misspoke, right? So Ranger Suarez pitched game 1, right? But the Zach Wheeler performances in the playoffs have been beyond impressive. But that game, it's kind of hard to remember. You go back that last week when they pitched Suarez, and the fact that they got through that game where they give up, they have Suarez pitches, and then you bring in the series of lefties. The fact that you got to a point where you were playing kind of with house money because you weren't expecting those things to play out the way that they did. I love the way that this sets up. So, most impressive thing about game 1.
Honestly, and I don't know if I, at the time I would have said this, but after looking at it, after reading his comments, I actually think it was Thompson's bullpen management. Ranger was, was dealing in game 1, and sorry.
No, you're good. But in game, right, that game 1 stuff, it was just wild because you look at the way that they were able to navigate that, just beyond impressive. And the fact that you were able to use guys in unconventional ways, you use guys in spots where you wouldn't normally use them, but he really played that lineup thing or the bullpen game to just maximize his guys, right? And to be able to shut the Braves out in game 1 and really almost kind of put them in their place, I think gave the Braves a lot of pause, because I think they expected to just kind of come in and just kind of roll the way that they did all year.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. They were expecting to come in, especially at home, and just take that. But yeah, I mean, Thompson hit all the right buttons there. I mean, Ranger was dealing, what was it, 3 2/3 innings? I think he went before Thompson takes him out. Didn't have a lot of pitches going. And I'm like, I get taking him out. I understand what he's trying to do. But at the same time, like, Hoffman was kind of struggling when he first came in. I'm like, if they took Ranger out and Hoffman gives up a run here, I'm going to be disappointed. Turns out, I guess hindsight's always 20/20, but, he pushed all the right buttons there. Just, realizing that the Braves, number one, hit lefties a little bit better. So to get Ranger out of there, they don't hit high velocity fastballs as well. So just throw out your guys who all pump 97 or above and just let them do it. I mean, it was a really good Rob Thompson performance, I thought. And obviously, the Trey Turner double play saved a couple runs there. That was huge. But yeah, my most impressive thing from game 1.
That might be one of the most impressive things that I saw. Yeah, because he had his struggles in this series, right? But he also had the opportunity, right, in that spot, in that moment, to be going basically into center field and to be able to start that double play on the back with a backhand toss that probably went more than 30 feet. And the way that it turned, and you saw the emotion on their end be a high, and you saw on the Braves be a low. They're like, what do we have to do to be able to get anything done in this game? Right. And then, in the 6th, you get the home run from Harper. I just love that the fact that we've got a situation where you've got Spencer Strider in all 3 of his playoff starts, all against the Phillies, all losses.
Yeah. And, the game in the NLDS last year when we faced him, I know he was a little injured, so he wasn't even at 100% there. So I was actually kind of happy to see the Phillies have to face him at 100% just to see what we do. And while they didn't light him up, they handled him fine. They got some runs off of him. They were able to win the games, and that's what you have to do. The pitching staff kept them in the games, and they were able to, get to Strider not just once but twice. That was the advantage. The Braves fans were all talking about the disadvantage of having the long layoff, but they got their ace to go twice that series, and it didn't really pan out for them. But we had our number 3 starter going against their ace, and look how that worked out. So that game was a bit of a nail biter, but it was just an overall nicely played baseball game by the Phillies there. So that was nice to see. I think that really set the tone for the rest of the series.
Yeah, listen, that was, and to be able to sit there and like literally nail bite your way through that game, it was gut wrenching because you think my initial thought, right? You see Suarez come out early, and you're like, is this going to mess us up? Right? Is this going to set back the bullpen? What effect is that going to have on their bullpen the rest of this series?
Right.
But you saw him play that. Listen, we've got the day off in between game 1 and game 2 really played to the Phillies' advantage in terms of they were able to, and you heard Rob Thompson talk about it, right? And they basically said it's all hands on deck because we've got that off day to be able to get everybody back for game 2. God, I just love and to hear like the Real Muto catcher's interference late, they get a run on that, but that to me was more of a psychological thing for them. Like they and you saw that, right? It was very, very, very minute by all accounts, but the fact that it does happen, it really sent the Braves fans into some other worldly thing, and almost the team too, right? Because then and we can go right into game 2 on Monday. So they come back a day later. Game 2 starts off, right? They get the one run in the first. They get 2 more in the third. They get 1 in the fifth, right? They're up 4-0, and you feel like they're cruising.
Mm-hmm.
God, and then the wheels start to fall off. Talk to me.
Yeah, it was really deflating because Wheeler had pitched so well in that game, and then just to kind of lose the handles a little bit there. What was it? It was the Riley home run that brought it to 4-3, or no, he hit the one that took the lead, right?
Yeah, so Albies has the single that scores Acuna, and then in the bottom of the 7th, Darno hits the home run when Olsen was on.
Hit the first one, and then Riley hits the one off Hoffman.
Yeah.
It was just deflating, And again, Wheeler's pitched so well. I'm not, it's one of those things where I know it was questionable if he should have, went out for that inning or not. Quite frankly, I think he's earned it. If he tells Thompson he's good to go, I think, Rob trusts his guys and he's going to let it happen. It's unfortunate the way that it went down because then it started making it too close. And again, Hoffman's been so good all year too. So you can't even get mad at the guy, but just not a good pitch in that situation. And Riley made him pay. And that just shows you, and that game to me was like the wake-up call. Like, all right, this Braves team is still really good. They're never out of a game, except for maybe game 3 when it got out of hand. But that was awesome. But game 2, it showed me that they were never out.
Wheeler was perfect up until that point.
Up until exactly. He pitched awesome. It was just, that last little bit there in that last inning for him. But what I was nervous about after game 2 was that the way we lost was going to change the momentum of the series. But then I heard Nick Castellanos' interview after the game, and he said, when we get punched in the face, we have to get right back up, or something along those lines about getting punched in the face and rebounding from it. And man, they did it, and that's when I realized, this team has that grit. It's a special team. To lose in that fashion, know that they're coming home though, and being able to take advantage of it. But really, I mean, the game 2, as disappointing as it was to lose it, I think we talked about it prior to the series that if we split in Atlanta in games 1 and 2, we're in a great spot to close it out, and that's exactly what happened. So we had all the advantages if we won one of those games in Atlanta, and it all worked out. So. It was, not a great loss, but I think it was kind of it gave the team a little bit of a shakeup, right? They had to rebound. They had to, kind of rally and come back, and they showed it in that next game.
Yeah. And listen, like the end of that game could not have ended more dramatically, right? You get the Austin Riley home run that just barely gets over the fence. Right. And I heard Travis d'Arnaud talk about it post game 2 about listen, I just happened to hit the only mistake that Zach Wheeler made all night. And that's how close he was to even, getting through that inning. But then the way that game ends, right? Because Castellanos is up with Harper on first,
Mhm.
2 outs or 1 out. And I mean, he comes within feet of, taking the lead and giving this team the lead. And he's been on fire. He can't be hotter right now. But, Michael, he makes a fucking incredible catch going into the wall. And God, you get the relay back in and just barely doubles up Harper. And how personally he took that. And you could tell with the accountability of Harper after the game, his comments post game. But then the bombshell drops, right? The day after game 2, the story drops about Orlando Arcia and his insanely boisterous comments running around the Braves locker room, mocking Bryce Harper and him, being the last out.
Yeah, and they asked Bryce about it, after the game and even the next day, I believe, and he basically, and I agree with him. I don't really think it was a bad base running play. I mean, if that hits the top of the wall, he scores and ties it up. Harris had to make a perfect play, and he did. So I'm all for Bryce being aggressive there. We talked about it before. He's going to be aggressive. He's not going to. We saw it. We were talking about last week when in the wild card series he blew through the stop sign, right? He's going to be aggressive on the bases. And, honestly, if that play goes differently and it lands, another 2 feet to the left or right or 2 feet higher or whatever, Harper's going to score if it doesn't get over the wall anyway. So I don't mind it. And I do love that Arcia talks smack. I do love that the reporters in the Braves clubhouse made it public. And, it was on, I'm not going to get into the whole details of that yet, but when someone's going to say that, I think the person in the world that I would least like to have hear me talk trash about them is Bryce Harper. I would be absolutely terrified of what would happen next. And I'm so happy that it went the way it did. And he goes off that next game, hits 2 home runs, and just stares a hole in the soul of Arcia there. Twice, exactly. And, he didn't have to say anything to him. He let the play do the talking for him. Right. But just the fact that it happened that way, it really couldn't have gone any better. Whatever. I know it's a competitive game. People are going to talk trash on each other. I'm sure it happens all the time, right? It's just not always reported on. So, I don't, but just the fact that it was made public, I think gave Harper that little bit of an extra, like, oh, okay, I'll show him. I'm Bryce Harper. He's freaking Orlando Arcia. Let's see.
As soon as he showed up to the game with the Coach Prime stuff on, he and Castellanos, you knew it was over because you knew they knew. And I love the way that they kind of they literally just they manhandled them on the field. They let all the talking happen where it was really important. The fact that the Braves kind of rolled into game 3 with essentially what was it ended up being a bullpen game. Like, I just don't, I can't fathom having that approach because essentially at that point you're playing for your season because you're going to get, if you lose this game, you're going to be within a game of your life for the season. I don't get the idea of having, just basically having like a string of bullpen guys, which essentially what it was. Because Elder's pitching in that game and, he looked good for the first 2 innings. And then, my Lord, the wheels fall off in the third. They put 6 up on the board in the third, and it was just over. And, God, you get in this game, right? You get 2 home runs from Castellanos. You get 2 from Harper. You get, you have the Brandon Marsh one late. You get, you just got contributions from everybody.
Yeah, you got them from everyone. Exactly.
And then Trey Turner, is this a game where everybody got a hit? Everybody but no, Schwarber and Stott didn't get a hit. Everybody else got a hit.
And it was impressive to see it from everyone. Honestly, Schwarber was a bit I think disappointing in that series, but to me, so in buried in all the offensive explosion in game 3 there was Aaron Nola just pitching an absolute gem. He did exactly what he had to do. Keep them. He gave up two. Was it even him that gave up the runs? I forget. But so he pitched awesome.
Five and 2/3, 6 hits, 2 runs.
2 runs,
both earned, but 1 walk and 9 strikeouts.
And 9. I was gonna say I know he had a ton of strikeouts, so he did exactly what he had to do. Awesome game from him. Harper, Castellanos, Turner, they all had really incredible series. Seeing JT heat up is really good too. He had an RBI double in that game. And obviously we saw what he did in some of the other games too. So having him back, I mean, the whole offense right now is just kind of scary. I mean, everyone can do damage. The only who hasn't really been hitting but he's not not hurting the team really either is Rojas, but what he provides in the defensively, pretty much makes up for it. And if he does get on base, just his speed on the base pass alone makes things happen. So he's a rookie, right? He's young. Offense was never going to be, his main strong suit, but he's still contributing valuable time to where the Phillies are right now.
He's doing so much in the field that you heard that they've basically openly talk about this on the broadcast. You've heard Rob Thompson talk about it. Anything that you get from Johan Rojas offensively is a complete bonus.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, because of what he brings on the defensive side. Right. But the Harper stare down was something epic. And I'm in my, den during the game, just going, talk that shit. Like I'm screaming like I'm him, but I'm looking at him and I'm trying to show my wife and I'm like, you see him staring at him? Like it was just an incredible thing to see. And the thing that I took away from that game is that Bryce Harper is the guy. Like he is when the lights are the brightest, when the game is at the most pivotal moment, he always finds himself in the middle of that. And he always shines. Like very rarely do you see him come up in a big moment with the game on the line and then he doesn't show up. He's always there, always in the middle of this. And it's incredible to see. Again, in this game, right, you still get you get 3+ innings out of your bullpen, right? Strom comes in, Sir Anthony comes in, Kirkring comes in, right? And he's a guy, his stuff looks just filthy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the kind of guy that I love having in the bullpen because he's young and he don't know no better. He just goes in there and either just throws gas or he throws stuff that just drops off a table.
Yeah. Really, just the whole bullpen really has just been so impressive. But yeah, it's so cool to have 2 guys on the team whose stories are like this between Kirkring and Rojas. But yeah, his stuff is just it's so nasty. The breaking ball is dominating. The fastball, then if they're sitting breaking ball, there's no way you're catching up to it because if you're sitting 80-something mile an hour breaking ball, which he throws way more. You're a guy sitting on that, and then he unleashes a 97, 98 mile an hour fastball. You're not catching up to it. So I love what he's able to do. But yeah, the Harper thing, he's just built for those moments. Every time he steps up to the plate, you just feel like, okay, something awesome, something clutch is going to happen. He's the most clutch guy that I can really remember. I mean, maybe that I maybe have ever seen play. In terms of just always stepping up in a big moment.
And how about, I can't remember if it was post-game this game or post-game game 4, but the post-game press conference where he talks about pressure and he talks about how, the moments that are that as a fan, you feel are the most pressure packed moments. And he literally just obliterated it all. He's like, this is not pressure. This is fun. He goes, pressure is, 16 and dropping out of high school, getting my GED and going playing college, playing JUCO. Yeah. Pressure's being, when I'm 12 saying I want to be the number 1 pick and then, working, having to put in the work to be that guy. Yeah. He's like, now I just get to play. This is just fun. And as much as people outside of this town want to talk about how all the stuff that he's doing is pandering, the people in this city realize how genuine of an athlete he is. And when he's putting on all the fanatic stuff, right? My favorite the game day where he came in with the powder blue on Thursday, when he comes in with the powder blue suit, but he's got the fanatic pocket square. Like, yes, it's pandering, but it's all genuine. It's all real. It's not fake. And the people in this city, if they know anything, they know how to tell between if you're being real and being fake. Right. And then we go to game 4 on October 12th. Right. And this is a game, you get the rematch, right? You get the Ranger Suarez, Spencer Strider rematch. Strider looked impressive early. Talk to me about going into game 4, right? Because you don't see any scoring from either team in the first 3 innings.
Yeah, definitely kind of more on the edge of the seats there. The Strider's looking really good. I mean, you could just tell the crowd was definitely a little bit not out of it, but just, not much is happening, right? So you're kind of like sitting there, like he kind of takes the wind out of the crowd just by shutting them down and everything. So it was definitely nerve-wracking, but it's just this team just doesn't stop. There's so many impressive. Like Turner had an awesome game, 4 for 4. Nick Castellanos again.
He almost hit for the cycle.
Almost hit for the cycle, right? Exactly. Castellanos, another 2 home run game. It's just like, even though you're facing one of the best pitchers in baseball, they don't back down. The first Castellanos home run put a jolt back in the stadium. How important is that in that game, right? Because you get the Austin Riley home run in the top of the 4th, which again, almost identical spot to where he hit it in Atlanta. It's the top of the wall and bounces over, and legit Castellanos leads off the next inning on the first pitch he sees. And I mean, it wasn't even a question. It was probably 20 rows deep. And you're right. It literally turned the electricity right back on in there. Right. And then they turn around and get another run in the 5th, another run in the 6th. They just, they knew when to turn it on. It was just really impressive. Yeah. And going into game 4, it was kind of like, okay, obviously, like winning at home is where the Phillies are going to specialize, right? Because you could take advantage of it. But the advantage we had going into game 5, not that I'm sitting there like, oh, if I want them to lose, but if they did, I still like their chances going into a game 5. But the benefit to that now is look who's pitching tonight versus what we would have to, plan around before. It worked out perfectly. Ranger again pitched great. Castellanos, Trey Turner, first 4-hit game in Phillies postseason history. Just like it just kind of all was clicking. It was just great. And Rojas with that catch to save all those runs that on the Acuna ball. So
yeah. So listen. So you get the Turner home run, and then you come back and you get the Castellanos gets the second home run. And he couldn't be more on fire. He's just, and for him to be sitting in the back half of that lineup just provides like that secondary power source that at some point you're going to have to challenge. And at this point, anybody that throws him a fucking fastball is just fucking bonkers, because the one that he hits, the second home run, is 100-mile-an-hour fastball. Like, and he just caught up to it. And my favorite part about that whole situation is the Spencer Strider meltdown on the mound as he's screaming into his glove, because he's got nothing. He pitched just about as well as he could, and it still wasn't good enough.
Yep.
But that play with Rojas in center field, right? Acuna comes. How that happens, right? Because this is also the game where the whole bullpen was flipped, because you get Suarez to start, right? But then Sir Anthony comes out. Then Alvarado and Kimbrel are out, and all your 3 best relievers are out. Correct me if I'm wrong. Before the 7th. Yeah,
because then it was.
So then Gregory Soto Kimbrel started the 8th.
He came back out, right?
Walks 2 guys.
Right.
Soto comes in, walks a guy. And not only did you walk guys, but let's be honest, you walked the fucking 7th, 8th, and 9th guy in the order. to bring the MVP to get to Ronald Acuna, right? Only the guy that was a 40-70 guy, right? And I mean, he gets a hold of one, doesn't get enough of it, but Rojas makes just as good of a play that the Brave center fielder makes it in jumping into the wall. But really with no fear, right? Just going, and you really see on that play how much ground he can cover, because it's the way that he covers it is like effortless. It's really, really impressive. But then of all guys to close out the game, Matt Strahm comes in, and that whole ninth inning was a sweat too, right? To be able to get them there, to get them to that point to close the game out. Just really impressive. I'm going to throw some stats at you. Bryce Harper versus the Braves in the last 2 postseasons. You ready for this? And this was as of October 12th. So this was after game 4.
After game 4, okay.
24 trips to the plate. Has reached base on 17 of them, which is mind-blowing. Right, he's 12 for 24 with 5 walks and 3 home runs.
Attaboy.
Right,
it's incredible. And Castellanos had incredible numbers that last series too. His OPS I saw was over 1,000. But I mean that's what they need. These are the guys. The big money guys are the guys that have to step up, right? I mean, it's great to get contributions from Stott, from Bohm, from Marsh, from Rojas, but when it's all said and done, who are the guys you should be counting on? You should be counting on these big money guys, and they're showing up. So, Schwarber again. I have full faith. Eventually, he's gonna get one, right? He hasn't hit one yet this postseason, has he?
And you got to imagine when he does get one, it's going to jump right. It's going to jump right back on it, right?
So I'm not too worried yet because he's making him and Harper are basically picking up the slack. So
absolutely,
that's what you want to see. The way that Thompson managed the bullpen there in that game 4, he said after the game was, I don't want to leave it so that that I'm leaving my best pitcher in the bullpen waiting for, that 9th inning, right? You got to get to that 9th inning first with the lead. So I like the way he did that. You wouldn't manage a game like that in a regular season game, but it just shows you postseason baseball is so different than the regular season. And it's so exciting.
Because they essentially, if you think about this over the span of 4 games, right, they only really lost 2 of them.
Right.
They dominated them for 34 of 36 innings.
Yeah.
All the runs in those last 2 games all come from home runs. Right. Castellanos is the 3rd guy ever to have, two games where he hits back-to-back home runs. But they're 15-4 in postseason games where they can clinch a series. Wildly impressive.
It is.
Castellanos, his last 5 at bats, 4 of them he's 4 for 5 with 4 home runs. Just could not be playing better. They're 6-1 in game clinching situations at Citizens Bank Park.
And it's one of those. It's just like the crowd is definitely part of it. They feed off it. It's just that energy, and it's so different there. I've been lucky enough where in the last 2 seasons I've been to 3 of the clinchers that they've had, and actually no, I'm sorry, 4 now. And it's been like it is so electric there, and just seeing how the team responds to the city, it's such a great dynamic that this team has with the city. Rob Thompson gets some flack every now and then for his decisions in the regular season, but he's a manager who's built for this city. He outmanaged Brian Snitker that series. That was a huge part of it. The Phillies stars outplayed the Braves stars. The Phillies pitching outdueled the Braves pitching. It was just like it's a different team in the postseason. They know what they need to do. They've been a different team since June, really. The most frustrating parts of the season were all prior to June. After that, were there a couple skids here and there? Yes. But they're a team that clicks. There's guys come up in big spots. The pitching has been what you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just what an awesome series. Again, I said it in the beginning, but there's just something about beating a division rival, especially in the playoffs, and especially one that was so freaking cocky coming into this postseason.
Yeah.
And it was so nice to beat them.
Oh God. And you saw the Arcia meltdown on the bench as when he's literally jawing with fans, and Acuna's got to basically get him back in the game. Like you saw the post game, the post game 2 comments coming out of the Braves locker room. Nothing coming out of their locker room was about the Braves. Nothing was about the Phillies. Nothing was about the game. It was about the comments and why the locker room is a sanctuary and why we trust our reporters and we trust this. Listen, you live in a world where everything is recorded. Yes. Everything. Just pretend and you're a professional athlete.
Right.
Pretend like everything is going to be recorded.
Right.
To go back, the one thing about Ranger, right? Because we talked about Ranger Suarez and how impressive he was at the beginning, right? But his career ERA now, postseason, 1.16. He's never given up more than 1 earned run in any playoff appearance.
Wow.
I knew it was impressive. In 23 innings, he's only given up 3 earned runs.
Wow. And that's that's a sizable, it's not like it's only been 5 innings, you know what I mean? It's been enough where we've seen it. That's not a fluke, I don't think. You have guys who can do it and you have guys who can't. I mean, I think I alluded to this in the last show, but Clayton Kershaw, one of the best pitchers of his generation.
Right.
And the dude sucks in October. Just absolutely sucks in October. And and I actually I don't like the Dodgers, but Kershaw has been a pro his entire career. Don't really have any issue with Kershaw. As long as he's not playing the Phillies, I got nothing against Kershaw. And but yeah, it's crazy how good his career has been. And then you look at his numbers and how bad his numbers are in the postseason. And then you get a guy like Ranger Suarez, who, came up a couple of years ago, was kind of pitching mixed roles. Look, Sanchez this year, right? Bullpen and starting role, solidifies himself a starting role in 2021, continues it in 2022, and look at him now in 2023. He's a number 3 pitcher, but he's one of the most important players in this roster.
And listen, as bad as Acuna and Olsen were in this series, Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman were worse.
Horrible. 1 for 21.
I was going to say 1 hit between the 2 of them. Yep. Those teams, great regular season teams. But when you've got to move base to base, when you've got to be able to capitalize, and to be honest, these games could have been a lot more lopsided. Because there were plenty of times where they left guys on base in scoring position when they really could have. But excited that they're going to move on, right? So on the back end of the commercial, we're gonna preview the Diamondbacks matchup in the NLCS, and we'll talk everything Phillies Diamondbacks.
Von C Brewing Company is a 20-barrel, 16,000 square foot microbrewery with a 2,500 square foot tasting room, including a spacious outside beer garden in Norristown, PA, in the heart of Montgomery County. The Von C family is part of the family that started C. Schmidt and Son Brewing in 1860. Stop in Wednesday through Sunday and taste a variety of draft and 16-ounce cans of originally brewed beer and tell them the Drunk on Broad crew sent you. Von C Brewing is located at 1210 Stenbridge Street, Suite 300 in Norristown. Cheers.
Team Clicks are the only glasses for real sports fans. With interchangeable arms, you can support all of your favorite teams, or even make and create custom options as well. These die-hard sports fans have realized that sports fans needed something other than face paint to show their love and passion for their teams. Go to teamclicks.com/DOB and show your love for your hometown team.
And La Torrens' curated collection of men's and women's watches is a perfect investment that lasts for years to come and fits perfectly with your every outfit and style. Our range of classic watches aren't just a great perfect formal and casual accessory, but a time machine that takes you back to memories. Explore our collection of timeless watches that can reflect your taste, personality, and personal style. Our exclusive collection of carefully curated, affordable luxury watches is what you need to make a personalized style statement. You can take pride in your prized possession, handing it over to the next generations as your most loved asset that they can also own and display with the same pride. These high-quality pieces stand the test of time, giving exceptional value and return on your investment. Go to la-touraine.com and use code DOB at checkout and get 10% off.
If you're looking for unique sports apparel, check out Streaker Sports. They've dug deep into the archives and have brought back some incredible defunct team logos and have even created entire defunct league collections. They also have collections paying homage to sports culture, including the Miracle on Ice, Slap Shot, Caddyshack, the Mighty Ducks, and even have a license with Wiffle Ball and USA Hockey. Only for Drunk on Broad listeners, use code BROAD at checkout to get 10% off anything at streakersports.com. Again, that's 10% off anything at streakersports.com with discount code BROAD.
And listen, Mike, you're right. Let's go Phils. We got the matchup tonight. So 8:07, first pitch. You got the Phillies taking on the Diamondbacks. Game 1 at home at CBP. That place is going to be fucking insane. It's going to be crazy. You got Zach Wheeler matching up against Zach Allen. I think for me, what I'm looking at is your two best pitchers are going to match up with their two best. But they're going to have to match up outside in the elements. That team has not played outside in a really long time. I love that their two best pitchers are going to have to pitch the first two games away from their home field. Talk to me about where you are going into this game.
From a pitching standpoint, I think it's a huge Phillies advantage. You're right, because you get Gallen going against Wheeler, Kelly going against Nola. Game 3, major advantage to the Phillies, right? We have Ranger. Brandon Pfaadt has not been good this postseason. They don't have. I was looking at the depth chart yesterday. I don't see a 4th starter listed, so they're probably going to pull a bullpen guy and hope he can go a couple innings. And so I think Game 4 is realistically going to be mostly a bullpen game for them. I think looking at what happened with the Dodgers and the Braves, the thing the Phillies had that they didn't have was a third pitcher. Basically, the Braves had Lance Lynn who got lit up, but the Dodgers had Lance Lynn who got lit up. The Braves kind of went that bullpen game. So I think you see it in the playoffs. Pitching is so important. Like, yeah, the Braves can smash the ball, and that's all well and good. But if my pitcher's better, then that's going to neutralize that. I think we're in the same spot here. The Diamondbacks offense can be scary. Corbin Carroll is one of the most exciting players in baseball. I wish we weren't playing him because I love Corbin Carroll, but I'm going to have to root against him here. Obviously, Christian Walker, local guy. So I'm sure you're going to have people rooting for him.
Listen, Zach Allen, South Jersey guy, right?
Yeah, another Bishop Eustace guy. So, and then Ketel Marte is good. So there's the Diamondbacks have good pieces. You made a point about it in the first part where they're kind of coming in like, they've never been here before. They're kind of just riding it out. They're the hot team riding it out. Kind of reminds me of the 2022 Phils. Coming in, not most guys don't really have any playoff experience, and just kind of coming in as the hot team and just beating teams that you're not really supposed to beat. I think the Phillies' experience though puts them in a better spot here. I think, like I said, the pitching helps neutralize any part of the offense that the Diamondbacks have, and our offense. I mean, can't deny it, goes up against them easily. We have guys who can hit. It's just a matter of who's going to stay hot. Is Castellanos going to still stay hot at the plate? I think Bryce will. Is Schwarber going to wake up? Is Turner going to stay hot? So there's a lot of factors going into it, but going into it from a pitching standpoint, I think you're absolutely right. Major advantage that they have to send their two best pitchers to Philly and pitch there. So, they might, if they sneak a game in, it's basically what our goal was last series, right?
Right.
They're going to try to steal one game in Philly, then go back home. But pitching advantage goes back to us, even when we go back to Arizona. Plus, then, if they do win, I love the setup where we had the 2 games at the end. I like our spot. I don't want to overlook the Diamondbacks because I think I think they might put up a little bit of a fight. But on paper and just the circumstances and situation, I feel good going into the series. And again, it really stems from our pitching versus their pitching.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all if this ends up being some kind of slugfest.
Mm-hmm.
Like if there are going to be, I'm convinced that there are going to be games throughout this series are going to be like 8-5, 9-7. This team that they're facing against the Diamondbacks, very similar to the team that they faced in the CS last year when they went up against the Padres, right? A lot of guys that are offensively playing really well. And Corbin Carroll, right, is a guy that's going to set the table for them at the top of their lineup. Right, but then Marte and Tommy Pham are gonna hit behind him, and then you got Christian Walker, and Christian Walker is a guy that you have to be mindful of when you have your approach to the plate, because I think he's a guy that if any of those guys get on, he becomes the danger factor becomes exponential with him, and you saw that with they have. In the game that they close out the Dodgers, right? They get 4 home runs in the 1 inning, and it just about destroyed any chance that the Dodgers thought they had, because then the Dodgers, right? They don't get their 2 runs until later on in the game. But that was really the only offense that the Dodgers represented, and it really didn't ever amount to any legit threat.
Yeah, I was watching that game. Because the Phillies, game 4 hinged the time hinged on what was going to happen in that game. So I was watching that, and Lance Lynn, I feel like as a Dodger, actually, had a pretty decent year. He was kind of like Nola this year, gave up a ton of home runs, but could also, he was also getting a lot of strikeouts and everything. So I was kind of surprised to see him just throw so many meatballs right down the middle, and 4 guys that inning, hit solo shots. So they're kind of like the Phillies in that there's a lot of guys in that lineup who could do damage. The difference is none of them have like proven track records, right? Whereas Castellanos had good years in the majors, Schwarber's had good years in the majors, Harper we know is like a postseason legend at this point. So those guys I think are going to do some damage, right? We have to probably expect that we're going to give up the long ball a couple times. It's just a matter of how our pitcher's going to respond. Are they going to be able to keep other guys off base so they can minimize that long ball to solo shots?
Right.
And how is our offense going to be able to go pound for pound, which I think they will be able to. I saw a stat earlier today on Twitter. I meant to save it, and then during the break I tried to find it again. I couldn't find it. But we have some guys who have really good numbers against Zach Gallen. I think I saw Marsh is hitting really well against Zach Gallen. There's a few guys on this team. So some of our guys may have his number. A huge thing would be if we can take being at home. It gives me a lot of confidence. But taking this one against Zach Gallen tonight would be massive. Wheeler just limiting damage. And if you're going to give up a long ball, make sure there's no one on base.
Yeah, and listen, to go back to that game with the Dodgers D-backs, the most impressive thing that happened to me in that inning, right, is that you get the guy who hit what they thought was a home run, ends up being like just slightly foul. The next pitch,
I forgot about that. Yeah,
the next pitch crushes one to the opposite field gap. But you're right; they can be spastically impressive in terms of they can put together a couple of runs really quick. They that game 1 with the Dodgers where they jump all over them in the first inning.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And they get Kershaw. They get Kershaw out early, right? And they just jump all over him. They end up putting up 9 runs before the Dodgers can even take a breath. And but this matchup, right, is going to be it's going to be strength on strength, right? When you talk about the pitching matchups in game 1 and game 2, But I love where this team is going into this series because offensively they could not be playing any better. They haven't had to leave. They haven't had to travel in a really long time. The D-backs are traveling cross country, and don't underestimate that at this point in the year, right? Because it's a long season, and those cross country flights can take a toll on you, even if the adrenaline is going. But I'm looking at where I can see this offensive matchup. If they can jump on him early, if they can jump on Zach Allen early and maybe get into their bullpen early, if they can start taxing their bullpen in games 1 and game 2, really puts them at a disadvantage if game 3 ends up being a bullpen game.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And their bullpen is not as deep as the Phillies.
Not at all.
They have Paul Sewald or whatever his name is. He's pretty good. They have a couple guys at the back end that are okay, but I don't see them having a deep bullpen. So like if their starters can go 6 or 7, that they're gonna have a shot. If not, though, I think the Phillies will have a chance to jump on this bullpen, and that's really what we need to see happen. And by the time games 3 and 4 roll around, there's a chance, like if game 4 turns out to be an elimination game or a game where the Phillies can go up 3-1, will they think about bringing Gallen back on short rest or something? I mean, at that point, they're going to start managing the season as a dire situation, right? So I guess we'll have to see what happens there. But that just gives, again, just having Ranger Suarez there as number 3 is like such like a, I guess, like good like safety cushion to fall back on, right? But yeah, if we can make the bullpen work and knock out Gallen and Kelly early in these first 2 games, I feel really, really good about our chances.
Yeah, listen, the thing that impressed me most about the Phillies in the Braves series was how aggressive they were on the base pass.
Oh yeah,
right, because the way that they were able to get to put that team on edge, right, and you saw in the one game with Trey Turner, right, as soon as he got on, it was he was automatically getting a second and putting himself in scoring position. That's something that I think you have to be uberly aggressive with this team, because I think you get the opportunity to set the table and really put them on an edge when they feel like if there's a guy with speed that gets on, whether it's Turner, whether it's Marsh, whether it's Rojas, if there's a guy that's got any kind of amount of speed, and it's a smart tactical move, I think you really try to put them at as much of a disadvantage as possible.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good point. I love seeing the aggressiveness there, and just what Turner and Rojas did in that series against the Braves, and even the wild card series, just making things happen on the base paths, just putting yourself in a position to score, making the catcher throw the ball down, making the pitcher think, oh, is he going to run? There's so many little nuances that go into it. And you're right. And this Diamondbacks team is not experienced, right, in the postseason anyway. So these guys are going to have to face, like you said, colder temperatures than they're used to, way crazier fans than they're used to. And if the Phillies can start getting on base, there's going to be a lot of stuff going on. And baseball is as much of a physical game as it is. It's also a mental game too. And if you can kind of win that side of it, that's a whole other advantage that the Phillies have. And by putting pressure on the pitchers to keep guys close or anything like that, it's just one extra thing they have to worry about. So that's a good point. And if Turner can keep getting on base, I see no reason why he won't keep doing that.
You ready for this? The guy on the Diamondbacks with the most playoff experience is who?
Is it Evan Longoria?
It is.
Oh, the last 08 guy on any team, I think.
And he has a little bit of history in this park, being on that 08 team with the Rays. But really, other than that, right, I don't see a lot of guys. Nobody's jumping off the table with me as far. I'm sure there are guys that have been on playoff rosters, but nobody on this team is really jumping off and saying like, he's got years and years of experience being in those higher leverage situations, right? Because we know that the reputation for each playoff series just increases it increases tenfold at every round of the playoffs. And I think this is a series that it's going to be competitive. And I think we have to kind of manage that because we can be manic, especially in the playoffs. But on the overall, how do you see this series playing out?
So I think it's gonna be Phillies in 5 or 6. I'm gonna go 6 just because it'd be cool to see him clinch at home. But realistically, I think it could be as easy as 5. It depends on what happens here. If the Diamondbacks can't take 1 in Philly, I think it happens in 5. I think they'll win 1 in Arizona. There's a chance they can win 2, but the fact is that they are using their two best starters in games 1 and 2, and likely can't get them back. It, like I said, and it would have to be short rest until game 4. So that puts the Phillies at a huge advantage. So I'm gonna say Phillies in 6, just to give some wiggle room, and like I said, we think this is going to be a closer series than maybe in my head I want it to be. So I think that's where we're going to see this.
You know what? I was thinking 6, but just to be different, I'm going to go 5. I'm going to go Phillies in 5.
I hope you're right.
I think where I see them maybe dropping 1 is one of those first 2 games in Arizona. But I really feel like this team is poised to kind of get back and right the wrongs of last year. And I think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see evidence of that tonight and tomorrow night. And then you got the day off Wednesday. Then you're going to play Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I think one of those games is a game that they lose. Whether it's game 3, whether it's, if it's game 4. And then I think they clinch in 5. I think it's a series where you're going to see the playoff experience really ratchet it up and really be an impressive part of where they're going to be. So anything stand out, any player that stands out for you that you think might elevate them to close out the series?
So I think my first series, I said Castellanos, and I think I said Harper in the last series. I think JT Realmuto I saw has really good numbers against the Diamondbacks, in particular at what is it? Chase Field they play?
Chase Field.
He has really good numbers. So I like JT, and I kind of keep saying Schwarber. I think he's eventually going to go off. So I think we do get at least one big Schwarber home run in these first 2 games in Philly to get the crowd going. But I think overall we're going to see a big series from JT.
Listen, I know it's kind of like a static answer, but I'm going to go back to a guy that I've already talked about, and a guy who is when everything is on the line is a guy that we trust. And I just think Harper has a great series this series. And I think he's a guy who sets the table for them, not only at the table, not only in the field, but in the clubhouse. He's a guy that just sets the mood for the entire squad. So he's the guy. He's the guy I'm going with. He's the guy that I want to see, when the lights are bright and when the game's on the line. But I really, you're going to need your pitching to show up. And if it looks anything like it did in these in the first 2 rounds, I think the Phillies are going to be in a really good spot.
Yeah, I totally agree. And Bryce is I fully expect Bryce to continue doing what he's doing. He, like you said, he just loves these bright spots. We're getting closer to he wants another shot at that World Series. And I just we were talking about him earlier, and there is no one I want to see win a championship in the city more than Bryce Harper, because I think if he wins one, and he still is so early into his contract, I don't think it's tough. I don't think it's like even real debatable or even a hot take to say that he's already in he would already be potentially in the top 10 Philly athletes ever. And that's with still 8 more years here and a lot more chances to do this stuff. So I think if he gets that ring, it puts just the even the regular season, just the amount of clutch hits he has is just it's so impressive. And he's just built for it. He's built for it.
Yeah, listen, I was talking to a friend of mine, and coming from someone who lived through that 08, that early 2000, that late 2000s run, he might be the best Philly I've ever seen. Yeah. Right. And that's coming from a guy who, watched Chase Utley in his prime, Ryan Howard in his prime, Cole Hamels in his prime. Like watch that whole team grow from the onset of when they started playing for this franchise. But he just shows up every time. There is no moment that goes unhinged where he doesn't show up, right? And when he does, he holds himself accountable and then jumps right back on the horse like he did in Game 3. So I don't know. I'm just looking at this and going, I see the path back to the World Series coming, and it's going to come through Philadelphia. But I don't know, Eric, on our way out, in my final thoughts, I don't know if we're going to get a chance to see the Rangers because the Texas Rangers look really impressive.
They're already up pretty big right now.
They're up 5-1 in the third.
Yeah, and it just started.
Just wild stuff. But as far as final thoughts, I love Philadelphia. I love the city when the city's hot and the teams are great and the fans are kicking on all cylinders, man. It's just a great place to be. Just shout out to the fans. The fans in this city are incredible. Go turn it up. Go be electric down there tonight and just turn that place into a house of horrors and make it 3 hours of hell because I'm here for it all.
Yeah, I'm going to echo that same thing. There's just something different about October baseball, and it's just like I don't care about how much sleep I get. I don't care about like anything else. My whole life basically right now is just revolving around what is the Phillies schedule. So that's basically what it boils down to. And I don't think I'd trade it. Like it is just so much fun. Last October was awesome. Obviously, and that ended a little bit disappointingly, but just being able to experience this and this team is just so likable. These guys are just like, I don't know, just watching them in the clubhouse. They just seem like I could go party with half of them or whatever. It would be a great time.
Yeah. Listen, you show up at Xfinity Live, you might be able to party with them.
The only problem is they don't get there to like 1. I'm like, all right, I got work the next day, guys. let's get some of these games a little bit earlier. Although Liam Castellanos is there at 1:00. I'm like, I get carded going in there at like 7:00 at night, and Liam Castellanos is sitting up there spraying people with champagne at 1:00 in the morning.
Right up to the top.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm so excited. I love this. I wish every October could be like this because it's just like I guess it really just shows you how much we missed it in those time periods where between 11 and last year where we just didn't have this. And just thinking it's like, okay, yeah, cool, we have the Eagles going on, but yeah, if they stink or if they have a bad game like they had yesterday, now I got to be sad about the Eagles for a little while. You got to watch the Sixers have good regular seasons and then fizzle out in the second round. The Flyers, hopefully they're on the right path coming up now. But it's just so nice having the Eagles performing well and then kind of rolling in all the other sports. Yeah. It's just like it's such a great time. So I love Philly sports. Let's go.
God, listen, I wouldn't have it anywhere else. I don't get the people that are like that. It's funny, Eric, as we're trying to wrap this up, that when I run into someone that doesn't pay attention to sports, and I'm looking at them going, part of me goes, what do you do?
I think the same thing. I'm like, I feel like it's rude.
What do you do? Because
what are you doing in October?
Like my entire life, as much as my wife doesn't want to hear it, she knows it revolves around sports. If I buy an article of clothing, it's related. It's either a jersey or a hoodie or a t-shirt or a hat. I'm like, books don't sound that exciting. Concerts are like once in a blue moon. But this, and I love the communal aspect of like how it brings people together. My kids are like, they could be not nearly as interested. But like I came home on Friday and I was like, let's go get Phillies hoodies. And they're like, let's go. And I was like, all right, I'm in. Don't care how much they cost. Let's go get them. But I'm like, I'm looking around going, what do you people do? Like, do you just binge watch like shows on Netflix and just like what?
Go to bed? I don't know what else I do.
Like, do you just go to bed? Like,
I think that's all it is.
And I'm the same way, Eric. It's going to be a really, really rough night of sleep for this next week. and it doesn't get easier going into the weekend. The Eagles are going to play on Sunday night, right?
Yes,
So we're going to be up late on Sunday night too.
Yep.
And then it's just going to roll right into Monday, right? You're going to be up late. Hopefully the series is closed out by that point, but who knows?
Yeah.
But I'm just here for it all, man. It's just so cool to have. Listen, I'm Don. That's Eric. If you want to go find him, right, you can check out his Twitter, X stuff is right down the bottom. Go check out our link tree. Go check out the sponsors. But we really appreciate everybody checking in. Everybody stayed and watching. Go Phils.
Go Phils.
Hey, listen to this guy. Tell me how you're feeling here. You're screaming.
I am stoked, baby.
You're screaming like it's still the game going on.
We're talking about the Fightins here. The Fightins. Said.
Should